All right, thank you so much, Miss Lillian, for that you've taken us through. Well, at this point of time, allow me to welcome everyone that has made it to the meeting in time. I really appreciate that's a great step as great leaders. Well, as I shared with us before, today's theme is the role of research in youth, the role of research and youth in artisanal mining. And briefly, I would love to take us through the agenda that was shared earlier before with us, where we are going to start with an opening prayer led by Miss Sanyu Joy. Then we shall have welcoming, then self-introduction, that is if time allows, then a keynote and background about the first speaker, then welcoming the first speaker, then we shall have a short break. After that, we shall have the second speaker take us through, then a reaction session, that's a Q&A, can call it question and answer, and then a call to action, and we finally come to the end of our meeting. Well, at this point of time, allow me welcome Miss Joy Sanyu to take us through a prayer in just 2 minutes. Sanyu, most welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Let us remember ourselves for prayer. Loving Father, thank you for the life you have given us. I thank you that we are going to be able to have an insightful session. Guide us through as we have this meeting. Let us learn a lot and guide all the speakers that are going to speak, Lord Father. In Jesus' name I've prayed. Amen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sanyu. Indeed, we trust to have a successful session. Well, I want to trust and believe that everyone on this platform is able to get me clearly. Can I get a confirmation from any of you? At all, you're listening to me very well. Okay, let me believe it. So, yeah, thank you so much. I've gotten that. Well, before I welcome our first speaker, allow me share with you something small. A reminder, she's taking us through the impact of technological advancements, that is automation, AI, and data analysis on Uganda's mining industry, and as well as the emerging opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship in Uganda's mining sector. And that will be Dr. Antonia Nebo. Well, I want us to all prepare ourselves to receive whatever she has prepared for us, because I believe she's very much equipped. She's not just a speaker, but an equipped one. This is a lady that has pursued a lot of things. She's having a bachelor's. Sorry about that. She's having a PhD in environmental management and control. Uh, she she's having a master's in public health, having a bachelor's degree in science of biochemistry. I believe we are taking notes. She's having lots of certificates in monitoring and evaluation of early warning, climate outlook, impact assessment. Yeah, she has also encountered a lot of projects that she has worked on. So that is how much I request all of us to trust. And she has also volunteered in a lot of aspects. Can I say she has volunteered as a program manager, as a grants officer? Yeah. And with her, can I say she's equipped with a lot of skills, over 73. Yeah. And amongst them, we are having environmental risk assessment, climate risk assessment, leadership. She's equipped with leadership skills. Yeah. And definitely with all that I've said, that would really prove to us that she's very much experienced with in over 12 industries. Yeah. So apparently we are in WiM-Africa, and Dr. Antonia has worked with WiM-Africa for over 2 years and 4 months so far. That is how much has, been so much committed to this initiative. She has worked as a director of operations and secretariat services. She has worked as an assistant director and administrative officer. She has worked on operations, a lot of things with her. So that's a brief introduction about what we expect. So at this point of time, allow me to welcome Dr. Antonia Nebo to take us through. Yeah, you're most welcome, madam.
Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yes, please, we are. Okay.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation, for the opportunity to get to speak to the young people in Uganda, and to just share a little bit of my knowledge and experience. So like they said, I'm Dr. Antonia Nebo. I'm an academic, I'm a teacher, and I'm also an environmental safeguard consultant. So this evening, we'll be going through the role of research and youth in artisanal mining. Even with my profile, I know I don't know everything, but I will hopefully say one or two things that you might pick and build on to develop yourself. So when we talk about mining, a lot of people imagine the pictures that we see online, the large machines, the industrial pits, the multinational companies that operate in the mining sector. But there's also another side of mining that we don't usually get to see. This aspect of mining, or this side of mining, is less visible, and it deeply impacts our African communities. I'm actually talking about the artisanal and small-scale mining, ASM. So across Africa, millions of people, millions of rural residents depend on artisanal mining as a source of income for their families, to support local trade, and to contribute to mineral production. But it's not just an economic activity for them, it's a way of life. It's how they live. They live off the land, and the minerals are in the land. So while it's important, they also face serious challenges as artisanal miners. And we're talking about unsafe working conditions, things like environmental degradation as a result of their mining processes, low productivity, informal operations, and limited access to modern technology that can make their lives easier. So that's where the youths come in. Now, how do we transform Africa's mining sector? How do we use research to transform Africa's mining sector? So we've previously listed a lot of the inefficiencies that are common in the ASM, in the artisanal mining. We talked about lack of tools for their extraction, lack of technical knowledge. Many of these miners relying on old knowledge that has been passed down informally in their families. So as a result, the mining that they actually carry out is inefficient. They're recovering only a certain small percentage of the mineral they could from the ore. And they're destroying the environment, their local environment, as they're doing that, and endangering their lives. You see information in the news about mine collapses in different areas in Africa, because people are trying to earn a living informally, and there's no structure, and they're not aware of these things. So these challenges are not just because they are not willing to improve. They exist because the sector has been fully supported with the right knowledge systems, or has not been fully supported with the right knowledge systems or innovation or technology. So research is really important. We need to put in research to transform the sector into something that they will benefit from. So, what exactly are we talking about when we are talking about transforming the sector through research? There are different areas where a young person can decide to focus their research in order to create avenues for better policies, safer designs, and to gradually develop their local ESM mining communities. Example is through geological research and mapping technologies, which are commonly used these days. There's technology now, artificial intelligence, to identify mineral-rich mining zones, so that you're not just digging aimlessly. You're more accurate about where you're mining, and this actually reduces unnecessary land disturbance in those areas. So we can also look at environmental research. So in environmental research, we try to, introduce safer ways of carrying out the mining, safer ways of managing waste, safer ways of managing the water pollution that comes out as a result of mineral processing, and and restoring or rehabilitating degraded mining land. We could also look at research to understand the health risks that these miners might be exposed to when they are, in the dusty areas with the chemicals and the unsafe working conditions. And you can also look at policy research. Is also something interesting for a young person, where we can design systems that support miners rather than excluding them. So looking into these areas, we can generate results that will turn knowledge into solutions. Now, research is not a standalone issue. While you're still producing reports and academic journals and academic spaces, we have to make sure that this research is applied, that it gets to the people who can turn this into practical application. We have to make it accessible to the government or the private sectors or even the mining industries themselves. So across the continent, we have startup businesses. We have young people getting involved in small scale, mining businesses, small scale innovations, which they are pitching to other people with technology that can reshape the mining industry. So that's something, we can look at. We can become innovators who design digital tools for tracking mineral policies, improving safety, and connecting miners to the market. Can I get a thumbs up if you're still hearing me and you're following me, just to make sure that I'm not going so fast for everyone?
Yes, please, we are.
Okay. So we're living in a time of rapid technological transformation. And technologies such as the artificial intelligence and data analytics are now transforming mining. They're giving us practical tools, things that we can look at and develop. I know a lot of people were worried that when AI comes into the market, that it will take jobs. But that's not particularly so. AI will only take the jobs of people who don't know how to apply the AI. So we can improve our skills, we can build our skills, even while you're students in school, to build capacity on predicting mineral deposits as a young miner. Improve your exploration efficiency, be able to map those areas and sell it to the people who, are in those areas. There are different skills you can develop. Data analytics is also another one that can help you track production, monitor environmental impacts and improve
I'm sorry, doctor, but we can't get you clearly. I don't know. Maybe it's a network issue.
Yes, I think I got logged out for a minute. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
it's now fine.
Okay. So it's really important for us to be able to bridge the knowledge that we gain in school with the current things that are occurring, in our local communities. So we can bring all this to come together and also have a mindset shift as Africans. A lot of African communities, a lot of youths, they are focusing on obtaining money, writing proposals to get grants to um carry out projects. But a lot of times the Africans have ideas on their own, which if developed properly and pitched, they can actually do great things. Currently, there's a little mining startup in Kenya called Eco Mining Insights that has developed a tracking system for gathering data at mines. There's still a small industry, but that was done by a youth, and it's being developed and pushed and adopted in a lot of places. So those are the kind of things that, as a young person, you can choose to promote. Of course, there are challenges when you try to do that. The policies are inconsistent. There might be limited funding or maybe gaps in infrastructure that can, halt your program or your idea. And these are concerns, these are, well acknowledged, but we have to try. We have to be, honest in understanding the reality and knowing what we want in the future. Like in Women in Mining Africa, we're actually teaching all the young ones and encouraging them to not just be nationalists, but to think of Africa together. Think of the future you want for Africa. Think of what you want Africa to become as it's developing. And then try to push your ideas. Like, you're never too young. With the internet these days, you're never too young. You can always pitch an idea, and then the future, the possibilities are endless. So now let's imagine something. Imagine an artisanal mining sector that, works with science-based approaches where the local woman knows, where she's mining, they've organized themselves, where they have some technology that helps them in processing, and where they're getting good value for the hours they're putting into mining. That's not a dream, and the youth can make it possible. They can make it possible by investing themselves in research and innovation. So looking past research and innovation, I want to just talk a little bit about emerging opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship in the African mining sector. So we need to be able to look at the current situation and find areas where we can push value, where we can produce values and cover some of these inefficiencies that are going on in the mining sector. So traditionally, mining in Africa has actually been viewed very narrowly. So when you think of mining in Africa, you're thinking of digging, extracting, exporting, but you're exporting at the ore level, without actually adding any value in it. But the modern mining economy is much more broader than extraction. It looks at, from exploration to technology to logistics to the environmental sciences that is involved, to processing, to finance and compliance, rehabilitation, data gathering. It's so wide. So there are so many opportunities. And then we should look as Africans into the mining value chain. One of the current programs that is being promoted by Women in Mining Africa is the WiM-Africa Institute, where we are trying to pilot beneficiation labs across Africa. So what do these labs do? They try to teach the locals, teach the women, build their capacity in mining the minerals to get the best benefit they can from those minerals. Not just, not just the simple stuff, but things that, are technologically forward. So we're partnering with other organizations that can build, the capacity of these ladies in the different countries. And that's where entrepreneurship comes in, because once you're able to build capacity, you can now establish yourself in your different locations. So let's begin with technology. So across much of Africa, mining operations, still relies on manual methods. So this creates a gap for digital transformation. There's a growing opportunity for young people to build and make mining safer, smarter, more efficient. And, there are digital mapping tools, like we said. You can generate mobile platforms, which we can use to connect miners with, real-time market prices, reducing exploitation by those intermediaries. So just a platform that they can use to sell, their products. And we can also create data systems that can track production, monitor safety conditions, so that if there's, if the sensors are in the earth and, there are any tremors or any instability, people will know early enough to evacuate the area. And just simple things that can improve decision making. So even simple innovations like SMS-based advisory systems can make a significant difference for rural miners. And artificial intelligence continues to evolve. We need to see the possibilities for predictive modeling in mineral exploration and operational efficiency. So I think I've said, I've talked about a lot of areas that we can look at. We can look at equipment design for local manufacturing. So a lot of the equipment that we have is large scale. So we need to tailor it down to the processes for the rural miners and to the scale of the rural miners. You can look at things that will help them to have safer extraction, devices that can help with safer extraction, mercury-free processing technologies. And these can be fabricated locally, to reduce costs. This will create jobs for everyone. It will strengthen industrial capacity. And who knows, you might get funding or grant to develop it at a larger scale. You can also look at environmental sustainability services, which is where, I am. There's a global pressure around, responsible sourcing, compliance with environmental and social standards. Is not something a lot of people are familiar with. When you talk of the IFC standards, the World Bank environmental and social standards, but there's a growing market and interest in environmental monitoring. So impact assessment, rehabilitation planning, and carbon accounting. So you can build capacity in those areas as an entrepreneur, as a professional. You can pitch yourself to these businesses and tell them you can draw plans to reduce the environmental damage, to help them meet up to the compliance and regulations, and then you can also offer to prepare the environmental and social due diligence documents that they can use to track their progress, and report their emissions. So moving on, you can also look into mineral processing and value addition, which means that a lot of the value of the ore is extracted on the continent, and you're exporting at a much better value than if you were, exporting as an ore. So instead of exporting, raw stones, raw gemstones, you can cut it, polish it, and turn it into jewelry, which will be sold online for multiples of the value you would have gotten. You can also look into logistics and the supply chain innovations. So mining often happens in remote areas where infrastructure is usually poor. So there's problems with transport and supply chain management. So if you can go into transport coordination, supply tracking systems, storage optimization, and even looking for drone-based delivery systems, that's something that is quite interesting. So even these small improvements can lead to large-scale efficiencies, and of course financial gains. So there are opportunities in the financial sector for the mining communities. They are now looking at onboarding women-led enterprises, on the financial system, so they can be digitally included. So, that's something to look at. And then, developing skills. There's always a need for training. There's always a need for for teachers, people who will train the local communities and build their education on safe mining practices, on such things. So that is something you can also look at. And then there are gender inclusive mining enterprises. So this creates a space for gender-focused innovation. There's an opportunity for women-led cooperatives, financial inclusion platforms for women miners, and targeted training and enterprises for women. So there are a lot of opportunities, when you actually sit down and look at it. But let me end with a simple reflections. So the opportunities are there. Sometimes they can be obvious, but a lot of times they are not. And the most powerful opportunities are often hidden in the inefficiencies. So in the areas that people overlook, just take a closer look. Africa's mining sector is still growing. There are a lot of opportunities for you to evolve and develop and sell your skill. So the real question we should be asking is not whether opportunities exist, but what we can do with the opportunities that have provided themselves. What problem are you seeing, and how do you intend to solve it? So I hope I have presented you all with things to think about and develop as we go on in this webinar. Thank you everyone for this opportunity. Over to you, Lucky, Lillian.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Antonia. We really appreciate. It was really an insightful one. Yeah, she talked about a lot of things, improving our skills and applying them. She talked about improving our exploration ability. We have to move out there and, explore into the field. Talked about, there is something that caught my attention, that we are never too young, we tend to lag and look at ourselves. We are maybe unable to do that. Maybe I'm still too young. I shouldn't shoot my shot, something of a sort. But this is the hour. It has come to our knowledge that we are never too young. We are not inefficient, but rather efficient. All we have to do is to, spread out and do our best. Well, I would like to do something, have a short break before we invite in the second speaker, but I won't let it be dormant. Maybe something small that I can do. Let me welcome the chapter coordinators to have a word to us. And I think I can start with the Busitema chapter coordinator. Miss Sharina, you're most welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucky Dorothy. I am so thrilled to be a part of this session. Okay. I hope I'm being heard clearly.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I believe I'm not here to say much, but rather chip in and say something in this break before our second speaker comes in. I request that you refresh a bit. Wherever you are, you can take a glass of water, maybe be more comfortable, because there is still more to learn. Yes. And thank you all for joining in. I hope we are benefiting from this session, and I call upon all of you to give in maximum attention to where we are going to, because we are still learning. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Sharina, for that. Allow me to welcome the Kyambogo chapter coordinator, and she may say a word, please.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Lucky, Dorothy, and to everyone who has taken time to log in for this webinar. Thank you to our dear speakers, Miss Dr. Antonio and Mr. Kenneth. I know he's on the call. And to our dear members, please kindly stay on the call because you don't want to miss what's coming next. This is not just a discussion, dear members, it is a call to action because we all know the mining sector is still growing in our country and I hope for Africa at large. So please kindly learn, get your pens, don't just log in and put your phones aside. Kindly note a few things, and when they call for the Q&A session, kindly ask some good questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Liz. That was really helpful. I feel we would actually regret if I had not let you people speak because you spoke more than I expected. But I thank you so much. Allow me to welcome everyone back from the short break. I trust you've made yourself comfortable as Miss Sherina advised. You've taken that glass of water. You've gotten that right position, in preparation for the next speaker because I trust it is building on what we've attained already, and I believe that we are all ready. Well, before I welcome him in, that is Mr. Kenneth Asimwe. Mr. Kenneth Asimwe is the Chief Executive Officer of Uganda Association of Artisanal and Small-Scale Miners, and he attained his bachelor's at Makerere University. That's a bachelor's in environmental studies. He's a very much experienced gentleman. He has worked as a chief executive officer. Um, he has headed lots of projects. He has coordinated lots of them. He has worked as a managing partner. And on top of that, with his experience, that would definitely show you that he's very much skilled and he's very much skilled and being part of this webinar, he's can I say volunteering to pass on the knowledge, to pass on the skills to us, to pass on that insight to us, we the young people. Yeah, he carries a lot of skills in digital marketing, strategic planning. So with all this, I really trust and believe that he's the best person to talk to us. In addition to Dr. Nebo. Yeah, and I believe that by the end of this meeting, we are not living the same. We are not, we are really walking away with, can I say, with greater visions, with better insight, kind of a sort. Yeah. So at this point of time, allow me welcome Mr. Kenneth Asime to.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm
Yes.
audible enough. Am I clear?
Yes, yes,
I have
please.
very poor lighting where I am. Was from the field, but at least I'm audible. You can see a few shades of myself.
Yes, sir. It's
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nebo and Liz, for putting this together. It is always an honor to share knowledge and to even learn from other people. And it is always a difficult task to speak after someone very intelligent has spoken. They say everything that you are supposed to say, then you have nothing to say afterwards. Research and youth. Where I come from, the people that I represent, the artisanal and small scale miners, are people who believe in building a plane as you fly it. They don't wait for perfect knowledge. They keep using what they have and keep on improving it. So research is very important. You cannot underscore it. The only challenge is that when you say research, people always think of academic research, where you have a dissertation, you have a thesis, you have to present a lot of documents, then get an award afterwards. people are locked in there. I always prefer approaching research from basic research, basic science, applied science, and applicable science. I hope we all can tell the difference between the three. Basic science being what we are taught in elementary school, even from our mothers, that when you mix water with flour, you make porridge. Where when you roast maize, it appears different from the one that has been cooked. That is science, but which is basic from a home perspective as you grow. Eventually, when you go, you put it at a large, you increase it to a small scale, large scale, and you produce an industry. I hope you, if you've driven along Ginger Road, Lukaya Road, Masaka Road, you've seen industries of Nyamachoma where people get and process meat. They are not doing it the way it's done as at Fresh Cuts, but that's an industry. It is running at the bare minimum, but it is doing what? It's running. There is what we call in research and product development, what is called a minimum of viable product or a minimum viable program or project. That if you wanted to do something, what are the basics that you need to start so that you do not suffer from the stagnation of over planning, over researching, over can you put something in place, start working, and you get over this paralysis. So my discussion is going to be talking about things in that perspective, that we need to do something as the youth. I know by show of thumb, how many of us use Boda Boda? If you can just show thumb, you can give me the thumb on screen. How many of us use Boda Boda? So the reason I'm using the Boda Boda example is that research keeps on showing, and then the message keeps on getting expounded that mining is very dangerous. That mining kills people. When you look at the number of people killed by Boda Bodas and the people who die in mines, I'm not saying it is good to die in mines or to die on Boda Boda. People always die. We will die. But I'm looking at the myths, the truths, and that kind of thing. They make licensing for operating a Boda Boda, which is very dangerous and is moving on the road. You only need very little money to go to Face Technology and get this permit. Now, if you look at the permits that you need to become an artisanal miner or a small scale miner, they are too big. So that is one area of research. As scientists, as students, that is one area of research, of trying to understand why do policymakers make consumption of imports very easy and accessible. But the moment you say you want to develop industry and consume what you've produced, then all of a sudden you can't qualify. You need 1,000 papers for you to prove that you can do something. On very many forums I've shared and promoted that mining is very easy. I don't know how many of us know that the oldest mine is not in Europe, is not in Japan, is not in the US, is not in Asia. The oldest mine recognized by UNESCO is in Africa. So we were mining before everyone else got to understand the use of metals. We knew metallurgy, we knew how to get ores and process them and form products long time ago. You can, by the assistance of Google, search for a mine called Ngwenya, the Ngwenya mine. It is in South Africa. It was serving needs for those people long before anyone got to know about metals. We were doing it. So why is mining becoming complex in Africa? I'm giving you this history so that you understand that there is already a huge body of knowledge that you can rely on to improve the inefficiencies, as Dr. Nebo pointed out very clearly, that our issue now is to research on how to improve our inefficiencies so that we can become more productive. So research helps us in that form, that why are people doing things this way? Is there a better way? Research follows, there is a saying that there is only 5 faithful men on earth. I don't know how true that is, but I'm told one of them is called what? Another one is called why? Another one is called when? Another one is called where? Another one is called how. I hope all of us have got them. What, why, when, where, and how. Those are the questions we need to keep asking ourselves every day that you step out to do anything in mining. Do something, then keep on improving it. Don't first get paralyzed by looking for knowledge and you over consult and you never act. Come join the actors and improve things by doing, not by theorizing. My call to action to everyone, the students, the academics, is that as much as I always tell people who are in mining and the students that do internship with me, that I do not want to spend time arguing about theories that were discovered long time ago, researching about them, researching about how to find the volume of a cylinder, arguing about them. We already know that. I would rather that discussion stays in the academic circles. Then here in the field where we want academics as they argue about theories and prove them to each other, here in the corporate world, the business people are looking for basic things that generate money profitably. If your solution is very expensive, it is not a what? It's not a solution. So as you do your research to solve a problem for the miners, make sure that it is affordable. So that when you bring it, it is easy to adopt. When you bring it to a businessman, they first look at it and say, what is the cost of taking on this new technology? As much as it has been said, the research is superb. How much money am I going to put in this technology compared to the old one I'm using now? What will it improve? If it is going to take a lot of money from me in the beginning, should I take it now? Should I leave it? So your cost of what you research and the solutions you bring should be cost effective and very easy to adopt by business. Because whatever research you do, if it cannot be commercialized and consumed by the corporate world, it won't be very useful as a body of knowledge. Yes, it can be there. You may win a Nobel for it, but I think you even win a Nobel when your research has helped so many people. It has been adopted by quite a lot of people and it has transformed lives because of how accessible and affordable it is. So as we do research and acknowledging that the youth are the future of Africa, I will open your eyes to small scale and artisanal mining in Africa in the recent years after we got recognized. In Uganda, being an artisanal miner was criminal until 2022. Being an artisanal miner was a criminal activity until 2022 when artisanal miners were recognized in the law. Artisanal is almost a derogatory word, but we embraced it because we said, okay, now that they call us that, people who are civilized and want to promote their section and not stigmatize it, they call their artisanal miners junior miners. even if they are 70 years old, but they are operating at that threshold of capital, they call them junior miners. But here, because artisanal miners was the word was used to make it look like horrible, make you look like rascals, we said, okay, let's adopt the name they have given us and run with it. Let's not battle with changing how they perceive us. I'm seeing messages. I think I'll get back to the messages later. I'll answer them. So that's where artisanal mining came from. So now that they are recognized by the law, they need services. They need research. We need to replace mercury. Everyone is fighting mercury, but up to today, no one has given a solution for the replacement of mercury as an amalgamator for gold. Now, it is very hard when you criminalize something and you do not provide an alternative. It is even impossible. If a kilogram of mercury is $300 and it can amalgamate for me a kilogram of gold from my ore, which is now $150,000, and you are bringing me a technology that is going to cost me probably $350,000, yes, it may be effective, but if I'm going to multiply my production, my cost by 1,000 or by 10,000, it's going to be very difficult for me to consider your technology because it is expensive and out of range for me. So as researchers who are gathered here, spend your time in the laboratories and find a better replacement for mercury, especially for our small miners. As UGASM, as an association, we are advocating for common user facilities. For those of us who are lucky enough to grow up in the 1980s, 1990s, we had the privilege of witnessing maize mills. Now, those maize mills were there as a replacement for grinding stones. So that was improved technology now, but because it was costly, government put in money and created the first maize mills, sorghum mills at sub-county level. So you had to harvest and then take your sorghum or your maize to be turned into flour at the sub-county, at the sub-county level. Now, eventually people saw that these maize mills make commercial and business sense. They went and now bought theirs, got fabricated ones, and now introduced them into these sub-counties. So it very much now, the transfer of technology, copying and pasting, now maize mills now became so many. The time for waiting at the maize mill reduced, and now businessmen could cash in because they were providing a service. So as you guys were advocating for creation of common user facilities, where smaller entities, groups of artisanal miners can bring their ore and it is processed effectively, such that when they've earned enough money, they can now start improving their mines and buying this technology by themselves. So that is an area of research that you need, that you can adopt. Another open area for research. I don't know how many of us on the group know what's called rare earth metals, and that are still aware that Uganda, next to China, has the biggest ore body quantified with reports in the whole world. But we cannot commercialize or even mine our rare earth metals to compete with China because no one has financed or has access to research that separates these rare earth metals, dipsodium, yttrium, indium, quite a number of them on the periodic table, the 15 lanthanides. Those of you who are still in the laboratory, you know them at the bottom of the periodic table. So that's also another area of research. We have research in law. We have improvement of efficiency in bringing ore. Right now, they use most artisanal miners use sacks. They bring one sack at a time out. So if we can have someone making a pulley system that does not rely on, for example, electricity, because most of the areas where people mine, our mining areas don't even have access to electricity. Most of the systems we run are running on diesel generators. Sorry for the environment, of course. Everyone is saying green energy, even when we also know maybe more research should be done, because the research I know and have done shows that there is no green energy on Earth. That green energy is advertising. It's like Father Christmas. Like if you oversay it, people may believe that there is green energy. Maybe if you guys can take it up as a research project, it will enlighten most of us who think green energy is an illusion. Because if we are going to make green energy by fast mining, when will it become green? When it still needs wires that are mined? So those are the areas. So as the youth, your role in mining and artisanal mining, Uganda has very little broad money. I don't know, that's economics now. Broad money in circulation is very little. People don't have access to capital. Everyone you ask, why are you not doing this? I don't have capital. So we need to research on methods of how teams can work together to raise money. Money is very expensive in mining. We need research in that area of how people can raise money that is friendly. In some mining areas, people are borrowing money at 6% every day. That if you borrow $1 million, you pay 20,000. 2%, that's 20,000. You must pay it every day. At the end of the month, that is 30%. So those are areas of research where we need to bring whatever we've studied to relieve pain from the people. Now, why youth? The youth can run, can think faster. I have had to resign from some jobs when I realized that I was stagnating. Guys who were so brilliant, they were young, thinking very fast, and my presence was going to slow them down. I said, no, let me move, and they are working excellently. So I believe in youths. I believe in the power of youths to change things, and the future of the world is in mining. I am sure all of you have seen that there is no one who is bombing another one for cosmetics. Huh? There is no one who is bombing another one for clothes. Huh? Every nation is bombing another for what? For minerals. So as Africa, as WiM, they say when you educate a girl child, especially, you've educated the whole clan, you've educated the whole tribe. As women, you have got a lot to do in mining. We have a lot of mining groups of women. There is opportunities. We can arrange a trip as you guys one of these days, Liz, and we go visit some of them. But my call to action is that understand the value chain of mining. Dr. Nebo said people think about extraction only. Yes, because that's where the market systems had placed us. Now, our visionary leaders have started opening up and saying, no, we cannot export ore. Of course, some businessmen were very angry, but at the end of the day, you look at the cost benefit analysis and you're like, yeah, this is the right decision. We approaching it the right way, then you go back and start approaching it the right way. We have a lot of research on every single mineral that we have in Uganda and look at its value chain and see at what level of enrichment we can take it. The policy says every metal should go at 99.9%. There are minerals which can only have value when they're at 68%. Beyond that, they become useless. So that is also research, like put out a research of every metal, every mineral that Uganda has declared a strategic mineral. And we see at what level can we enrich it and marketize it. The people in academia, you have been in discussion with Makerere University to create a master's course that is focused majorly on mining and mineral business management. It is very hard. People who are running normal businesses, Don't do things that when you bring them to minerals, they tend to fidget a bit because minerals take a special kind of understanding. There is research on marketing of metals. Should we keep on being controlled by London Metal Exchange, by Shanghai Metal Exchange? Can we make a Uganda Metal Exchange? That is an area of research. Someone can come up with it from there and say, no, if Uganda approaches stock exchange, metals exchange this way, it will bring more value to the country than relying. Our taxation relies on London Metal Exchange. Yet sometimes you are not selling the metals to London, you are selling them to South Africa, but they are charging using the Metal Exchange of London. Those are areas of research where the youths can take up and figure out. I think my time is fast spent, but the areas are quite wide. Mineral value chains, improving on efficiency of these small scale miners and artisanal miners on how to do their work very quickly, because you'll find someone has a machine that processes maybe 40 tons per hour, but can only produce 40 tons of ore per week because they have inefficiencies in operations. Those are gaps that we need to close. UGAZIM is trying to put in place extension services. It is a gap that is there. We have extension services for agriculture, but no extension services for mining. It is an area that the Uganda Association of Artisan and Small Scale Miners is passionate about, and we are trying to do something about it, especially in partnership with Busitema University. And I think we will talk much later to Kyambogo and Makerere University, so that we create a program for engineers to come and learn, and sometimes even unlearn what they learned from the classroom, and they see some of these people who are doing it practically. As each one sharpens and improves the other one. What is interesting about artisanal and small scale mining? Mining is very profitable at any scale that you do it. That's one thing I can tell you for sure. There is an interesting case in Ghana. If you read about a term called galamsey. Now, most galamsey people are people who used to work with international mining companies like Ashanti Gold. So when they were there, they realized that what these people are doing inside here is things we studied in P3. Yeah? Solid liquids, gases, you heat them, you convert them this way, and you have a metal. So they all ran out of there and went and started small scale mining. Now, when the Ghana Gold Board was formed, in a period of about 8 months of allowing to give licenses to small scale miners, the artisanal and small scale miners were providing 70% of the gold that was going to Ghana Gold Board. Now, what does that bring to your country and to your government? First, it will save it from bad negotiations. These international mining companies, when they come to negotiate, they don't have interests. They don't have your interests here. They have interests to their shareholders. They account to different people. But now, when you empower your country to say, no, I don't think we even need this company around. Since our young kids, our youths are now mining the gold, we can tell these companies to stop harassing us. We can even tell them to shut down if they don't want to work. That is what youths can do for their governments. When you go to Ghana, you feel proud. When you go to places like Tanzania, you feel proud that the youths have embraced mining and they are doing it. The knowledge they got from universities and from being interns in these big companies, they brought it and started changing their communities. So my call is that the knowledge that you have, the research on metals and metal value chains and how to find money within these metals, the power lies within you to make that decision and start applying yourself. We want in business, we want applied science, not applicable what? Science. Bring things that work, that are cost effective, that I do not have to compare them with the technology from China, technology from India, and then I tell you, yes, this is a brilliant idea, but it doesn't work. We need to concentrate and use what we have. We have a lot of resources around us here. We have a lot of money within us here. A prospecting license is 1 million shillings, 200 for application, 800 for granting the application. As students, you can form yourselves and form a small company, get a prospecting license, and go do prospecting for your people in your village. Do you know how much it hurts to find that behind your farm, behind your house, there has been a rock for the last million years? Your father was born, you have that rock in your village. Your grandfather was born, that rock was there. And then next year, someone from another country comes and is the one with the license of the rock behind your farm. Yet you could have done something using small money and you get those mineral rights. Then you start thinking of how to use the knowledge that you have to improve what is behind you. That is my call to action. The youths are very important. You have an important place. When your parents in Africa, we have a system, people want to discourage us from it, that it is black tax. They are encouraging us that we carry our parents to nursing homes, which is not right. Huh? My time is fast spent. I think we will get into questions. The money that we make from these arrangements, from these researches, is what will help us look after our parents, and we do not destroy family. Family is very important. It is what has run and made Africa survive to this long. Youths, it is your responsibility now to build on the body of knowledge that your ancestors had before mining started in Africa. It did not start from any other place. The oldest mine, like I've told you, is in Africa. No one should make you feel low about yourself, that you do not understand what you are doing. You are destroying the environment. So long as you have done in accordance with what the laws are asking you to do, please do mine. That is my call to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. We really appreciate. That was so insightful. That was so, it was wide. It's indeed acquired knowledge. Thank you so much for that shared knowledge. Talked about advancing knowledge. Talked about improving what we have, like we really have the skills, we have the knowledge. As students, we are acquiring knowledge, and it is time for us to, to do it practically, something of a sort. You talked about affordability, working within our limits. That is really so crucial. And I realized there was a lot of emphasis on that point. We don't have to look at big projects. We don't have to look at something outside our ability. Let's work within our budgets. Let's work within our knowledge. For something better, everything starts small. I trust we all understand that. Well, at this point of time, I see people are really having a lot of questions. I'm not going to waste any of your time, but allow me to welcome anyone with a burning questions. Mr. Vianney, it's your time. You can please come up and place any question, anything. Yeah, you're most welcome, everyone.
Sorry, I'm taking the call from a bit of a noisy place, but I had put my questions in chat. But one of the things, of course, I had asked is about demystifying the mining sector in two ways. Like in terms of the expense, how expensive it is. I think Kenneth touched on it. But the other is about how effectively to disseminate information that you're actually laying out here, which I think I would really say I am a good reader of like many publications and policies. I would say up to like 80 and 90% of the youth actually don't have access to these kinds of forums. So how do we effectively like transit this information to the people who actually need to listen to it and take action?
Thank you so much. I don't know whether this question is open or you are particularly directing it to an individual, a certain speaker or something. Maybe you can clarify on that, or
I
if
think
not,
yeah, it's open to the presenters, to the all the presenters, I guess. Yeah, thanks.
all right. Thank you so much. Please, you can have all the questions come in at this time and maybe have the answers. Or if you're still thinking about them, you can still have this one answered. So, Dr. Nebo, could you please help with that?
Okay, hello. To address the questions that he sent in the chat room, so looking for cost-effective solutions, what mining models are showing promise that can be adopted by both researchers and young people? Okay, so answering the question based on what was said by Mr. Kenneth, a lot of times this is country specific or even sometimes mine specific. So the problem that we sometimes have in Africa is that when we're looking for solutions, we're looking very far. We're looking at different countries that don't have the kind of systems that we have here, the kind of structures that we have here, the kind of people that we have here. So you need to look closer at your exact situation. What are the state of the artisanal mines around you? What exactly is their problem? Like the way he mentioned in Ghana, where they have the issue with the Galamsey miners, so you can see that the opportunity there is to help them find more efficient processing methods for their ores, giving them some training and so on. So that is specific to that area. So what you should do is to look at your environment and tailor it to what they need. Like he said, if you bring a mining solution and them as artisanal miners cannot afford your solution, then it's useless. They wouldn't adopt it. There's no need doing a fantastic solution that no one you can afford, or that the people who you're directing the solutions at cannot afford. So tailor it to them, get their input as you're developing it. It might be technology, it might be training, it might be data collection, and then also try and collaborate, because sometimes the solutions you're trying to find are within that environment. Speak to the miners, ask them what their pain points are. You might be surprised at what you're going to get from them. You might be surprised, and that will actually feed into what you're developing, so that whatever it is that you're pushing your research towards is something that they can adopt. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And actually, I was looking so much more into like indigenous, like cost-effective solutions. But also, of course, thinking about that some of these maybe components from Ghana might be replicable. I mean, the rural setting, the youth challenges, and all that, there might be some similarities. So
Exactly. What is needed in your community? What are the challenges in your community? Like in an area like Mali, I can't remember what they mine, but they have a big problem with mining safety. The big mining companies come into the local area. they allow the artisanal the miners to come in for 2-3 hours early in the morning to do some mining. And within those 2-3 hours, a situation can occur and there can be a stampede or a mining collapse. And you can't even tell who was in the mine, how many people were there, to be able to coordinate services to evacuate people or to rescue people from the mine. There are no social services to help the miners in case of any safety issues. They're on their own. So it's actually tailored specifically. And if you look at it, there's so much you can do. There's so much you can do. A lot of organizations are now looking at promoting the mining sector, at those indigenous solutions. Like they don't want to know how it was done in Asia or how it was done in Europe. They want to know how it's done in Africa. They want to know how you can make the local woman in the village, empowered through her livelihood source, which is her simple mining. I hope that's clear. Okay, back to you, Sharina.
All right, thank you so much, Madam, for your presentation. So my question is directed to any of the speakers. Of course, it could be Mr. Kenneth or you. One of my biggest concern about the artisanal mining sector is that it is widely acknowledged, and it contributes significantly to our national gross domestic product, that is the GDP. And I'm so concerned of this is where I'm driving from. Now, mining is a business of its own. Like we heard from Mr. Kenneth, it is so profitable. But I'm concerned of how most artisanal miners continue to live below acceptable standards of living, meaning that the contribution of the GDP of artisanal mining is not reflecting in the HDI outcome, that is the health and development index, I should say. So the gap between the GDP contribution and HDI improvement is a real and serious research concern in development economics and mining policy. I am really so concerned because through our internships and maybe employment for skilling, that is where we may go as youths. But when you look at the standards of living of these artisanal miners, it is really worrying. What is supposed to be, I'm so concerned. Yeah, and I believe maybe you have understood my point of view. I request that you respond to it.
Thank you, Sharina, is it? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Am I
please, I
audible?
can hear you.
Okay,
Yes, you
now.
are.
Of course, that's a concern for everyone, but it is very difficult to educate people on how to use their money. When you get into the working environment, I don't know if you worked before, but if you get exposed to work, you'll have work colleagues where you are paid the same money. You all receive your salaries on the 28th, and some of them by the 1st of the following month, they have too much month at the end of their salary, and yet you still have yours. So the issue of people and how they use their money is a concern, not only in the mining sector, in the fishing sector, in the agricultural sector. It is an issue of discipline, the issue of savings that we need to start now teaching and adopting as a culture. In there is that Luganda saying, "Mbazirianga muvubi," that is eating his money like a fisherman. It comes from that kind of wastefulness. Of course, there are some who are using their money profitably. There is also income inequalities. At what level? Who is the worker? Who is the owner of the mine? All of those income inequalities are there. They are not only specific to the mining sector, but of course we are discussing the mining sector today. But when we discuss it that way, it will take us off a national problem and make it look like a mining problem. The issue of earnings not looking like the people who have earned that money is a concern for the whole country, that we need sociologists to study, people who know the cycle of money to do some research about it and see where the problem lies. But I acknowledge it. I acknowledge that there is a lot of misuse of money. There is income inequalities there in the mines. The sharing is sometimes, for example, I'll tell you that there was, I think, Global Rights Alert. There was an NGO that came and introduced ore sharing. There is very little exchange of money in the mines, by the way. People prefer to be paid in ore than to be paid in cash because they do not want to take 1 million and leave 10 million in the ore. There are very few people who are willing to be given cash. They want to take their ore and process it and get their gold. Of course, this is now different from so many minerals. Industrial minerals, precious minerals, people share differently. And then the market prices they fetch are also varied. So it is a concern. We keep on working at it. At UGASM, we are trying to make sure that instead of sharing ore, we bring these common user facilities very close so that miners can now share the real product. Instead of sharing gold ore, you share gold, you share price, you share gold. Why? A sack of ore is going to cost about, let's say, 700,000 shillings. Now, a sack of ore may contain about 20 or even between 8 to 20 grams of gold. The gram of gold right now is at about 480,000 Uganda shillings. So someone does the math, and sometimes people take and find they have not got anything in the sack, because now we need to improve on the lab issues, on the testing of the ore before sharing. There are no lab services. If there was a way of testing for gold that is also cost effective there close to the mine, it would help. That's another research thing, so that these incomes are improved. But generally in Uganda, people waste money. We are general happiness, that people misuse money. People sometimes the needs. People tell you are living beyond your means, yet sometimes the means and the living are even not there. It is a concern, and I appreciate that you've brought it up in the discussion. Sociologists can take over from there, and economists.
Thank you, Mr. Kenneth.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. Thank you for all everyone that has placed in their query, and I believe that you're really satisfied.
Sorry, Miss Lucky, I have a question.
It's okay. I was actually going to say in just 5 minutes, for anyone that has a question, you can please place it in. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and to Ms. Nebo and Mr. Kenneth, thank you for the insightful presentations. And I hope members from their presentations, we can all attest that artisanal mining is presenting opportunities for youth, entrepreneurship, and innovation. But from Mr. Kenneth's presentation, it reflected that there is a gap between academia and the industry. So my question is, how can we address this gap, and how can we gain proper skilling to be ready for the industry? Then my other question is, what is to both speakers, Mr. Nebo and Mr. Kenneth, what practical recommendations would you give to young participants or people on this call who want to get involved in research or improvement of artisanal mining and the mining sector at large? And this might be kind of out of topic, but for someone who is interested in, I've heard something about urban mining that I didn't clock it so well. I kindly beg one of you to give me more light about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Liz. Well, before maybe they can address your query, I see Mr. John Mary, your hand is up. I don't know, do you have a question or something? You can maybe place it before so that they address everything at once as we come to the end of our meeting. Thank you. Unless it wasn't intentional. Okay, I see he has corrected that. All
That
right,
was
thank you so much.
intentional.
Okay,
Right. Yeah. Good evening,
so
everyone. I'm Mr. John Mary from Busitema University. Yeah, and I serve as the president of the Mining Engineering Students Association. This evening, it has been so wow. Yes, it has been so grateful for me to have an opportunity to learn things actually outside the class, but they are very sensitive for our sector. I did at Uganda that the artisanal mining was legalized in 2022. Yeah, and it in Uganda have one of the major problems that the mining engineers or the miners out there are crying out like we don't have capital, and now it's back to us that the youths who are energized, they're fast thinkers, and are ready to work much better for the field, so that at least you can strive at a better level behind the we on call. We also need to learn about the stock exchange and the metal exchange at for Uganda and look onto how we can make it better. Yeah. It has been so good. Has been good insights and knowledge shared, especially from Mr. Mr. Kenneth and the Dr. Nebo. Yeah, thanks so much. And my question tonight is, as we the energized youths, we have to work first, let me say, into the research field and the laboratories there, which are building up better opportunities, better projects, which we are not looking into the applicable science, but what is the applied science behind the project. Yeah, I've taken it up today. I've taken it as a keynote. And my question is that how can we access free data or free information, basically the data sources for mine engineers vis-a-vis our student research? Yeah, maybe that's the question to Mr. Kenneth. Thank you so much, and I beg to submit.
May I come in now?
yes, please.
There are two questions that were asked. I'll start with the one urban mining. Urban mining is it majorly targets our electronics that have reached the end of life. 100% of them are made out of minerals. So most of these people that you see dealing in scrap, collecting scrap, your old flat irons, your old laptops, your old phones, they're basically going to melt them and win back the minerals that are in there. That's urban mining. From a typical phone, I think you can get about 100 grams, no, about 10 grams of gold from your phone that you are using now. The printed circuit board has copper. Your old laptops, your old computers, they have PCB, those PCB boards. The printed circuit boards, they are made out of metals. That's urban mining. On resources, on what we can do to bridge the gap between academia and the business, it is a question of engagement. As an association, we are working with Makerere University. We are working with Busitema to see how this the gap between academia and industry is closed. But from my perspective and from my experience, I would encourage that there are 2 sessions of internship, especially for people in engineering. That before you do anything, before you go to say, I want to master this, I want to do this, you first run a course of about 6 months in a field of mining, so that when you're going to master now, you know what you want to master. When you're picking when you're picking research to do before you graduate, it is practical. That some people do a thesis at graduate level and abandon it at postgraduate because what they did at graduate level, they even had no idea why they were even doing it. To me, I would prefer that universities open space, that their students start from the mines. From any other field, if you are into construction, start from a construction site before you go to the classroom. Because there is a very huge variance between what you study in class and what gets applied when you get out. That you come out of university, then you spend another 3 years trying to unlearn. That's why they provide that before, for example, an engineer starts working, they must work under a senior engineer for 4 years. Now, when you come to Uganda, where we don't have all those engineers waiting, when you go, for example, to work in Moyo, there is only a district engineer who will supervise you if you have to work under for 4 years before you take on a project. So we need to close those gaps between the academia and industry, because whatever we do eventually ends up with money. It ends up either as a cost or as an income. That's what I would say. The one who is looking for resources, the Directorate of Geosurvey in Makerere, it is open, it has a library. The ministry has a resource center. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has a resource center at Amber House. EITI, the Extractives Initiative, Transparency International at Crested Towers, they have a resource center. Most of their reports are printed on online. When you go to Accord, Advocates Coalition on Development and Environment, in Kamocha, they have a resource center where you can find a lot of literature to read. The Natural Resource Governance Institute, they have a lot of literature they have done on mining. The Uganda National Mining Company are also at Crested Towers. When you visit them, feel free to visit these places. They are public offices. When you reach there, at least by being Ugandan, you are supposed to be there. When someone asks you what you've come to do there, tell them I'm a Ugandan who has come to learn. They owe you that right. You deserve to get that information. It is not printed to stay on the shelves. So those are some of the areas. When you even go to your districts, the district commercial officer, they have all these all these pieces of information. They have access to them. They have access to reports. When you go to Ministry of Finance, in their resource center, all these documents are there in their libraries. When you go to Bank of Uganda, they have a resource center there. Your libraries, I don't know how aggressively they stock new information, but most libraries have that information. Then number 2, make the University of YouTube your friend. If you have not graduated from the University of YouTube, it is high time you start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. I believe that was satisfying. Miss Liz, I trust you put in the right information, unless otherwise, but I believe you have. Well, let me take this opportunity to appreciate everyone for being patient. We've come to the end or to the climax of our meeting. It was scheduled to end at exactly 8:30. and we only have 1 minute. So at this point of time, no more questions. Welcome. I trust we are all satisfied with whatever has been delivered. Thank you so much, Dr. Antonia. We are so humbled. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth, for all that you have shared with us. We are really humbled and grieved so much. Well, I would love to invite Miss Liz Natrinda, the chapter coordinator of Kyambogo University, come and say a word and bring us to the end of our meeting. Miss Liz, you're most welcome, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Lucky, and to our dear speakers tonight. I'm going to request each one of us to send an emoji or a clapping emoji. Yeah, thank you, John Mary, Lucky Dorothy. Yeah, members, thank you so much for logging in to learn. I hope we've learned something. And after this, we are going to send out a form to be a test, each one of us. I'm joking. Yeah, but I hope we've learned something, and please kindly apply. Don't stop on learning. Yeah. To our CEO on the call, Mr. Kenneth Asimwe, I'm going to follow up on the tour you've mentioned with 2 chapters. You see a go ahead. And to the Secretariat, Women in Mining Africa, thank you so much for always supporting us and guiding us. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.
Okay, everyone, you can please unmute and say good night. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you,
Okay, good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night from Namibia.
Oh, good night. Okay.